Welcome back to LearnWake. This is Brandon Judd, and today I am responding to a video analysis request that has been uploaded by Peter. And this is on a heelside back roll. And thanks for uploading the video, Peter, and for this description as well. In here you say you've been landing about 1 out of 3 back rolls, and you'd like to improve your rotation because you seem to have a lot of hard landings just like this one. So let's watch this really quick so our other members can catch up. Honestly, it's really good. There's 2 small things that are preventing you from getting the ease of rotation that a lot of other riders get. It seems like you really fight through this one, especially on the landing there. So let's pick this apart. All right, first of all, when you start edging back toward the wake, the first thing you do is you kind of crank on your edge pretty hard. You start to sit kind of hard, and then you start to lean and turn pretty aggressively. So I want you to, let's just watch that really quick and watch how right about here you'll see you kind of sit and turn hard on your edge, and your hardest edge is right about there. And then because you can see a decent amount of the bottom of the board, but then let's watch how this view of the bottom graphic of the board kind of goes away right around here. So let's watch how that happens. So you have less and less of the board, and you're pretty flat right now, and that's why you get that blast of water through the wake, and then your upper body feels like it looks like it's starting to go into the rotation, and then your board looks like it's getting hung up. So it would feel like your board is getting kind of stuck, and it would feel a little sluggish through the wake if I were to be in first person executing this back roll. But again, I can't speak for how it feels for you, but that I would imagine that's how it's feeling. And what's happening is you're coming off edge a little too early, and that's preventing your board from getting the lift that it needs. So you kind of stall right here, and then when you come back around for your back roll, you land kind of heavy against the line and not in a very good, strong position. So let's take this beginning approach apart again, and let's talk about what it should be. So back here, you should start edging slower, and let's watch an example of this. So here's Kyle Schmidt, and he is edging back toward the wakes for a back roll, and you'll watch how kind of just tall and mellow he starts edging. So he doesn't really ever lean hard and crank on his edge until right about there, right before the wake. So if we contrast that with yours, you'll notice your kind of crank and edge happens right here. This position should be happening right here, kind of at the bottom of the wake. So what's happening is you're edging out really far and then getting on your edge really quickly. So you've got to do one of 2 things. If you're stuck in the habit of getting on edge really quickly, then what you can do is you can shorten your approach to honestly closer to about here. Because if you look at Kyle's approach, look how short of an approach he took. I mean, he really didn't edge out all that far. So if you were to do that same version of just a shorter approach and then come into the wake, at the same timing from when you start to turn back toward the wakes, you'll be in this hard loaded position 10 feet closer to the wake if you take 10 feet less of a cut. Does that make sense? You're just taking your entire first half of your cut and you're placing it closer to the wake by not edging out so far. So that's option number 1. Option number 2 is you could edge out, you know, I still wouldn't go quite as far, but you can edge out pretty far and then coast for longer. So you're essentially you're delaying that hard turn back toward the wake. So you're adding, sorry, I'm getting tongue tied here. You're adding about 10 feet of just coasting, like Kyle coasts. So you would just be coasting like this for a really long time, and then you would wait until you got close to the wake like Kyle does here. You'll see where this kind of foamy whitewash before the wake is. That's when he starts to get on it. And you'll notice with how much of the board you can see of Kyle, you'll see more and more and more, and then right through the wake, I mean, you can see a pretty decent amount of the bottom graphic of his board even through takeoff. And then if we go back to yours, you'll see that you have less and less and less until it's almost disappeared here. And then by the time you're through the wake, I still can't see. I mean, it's razor thin. I can't see the bottom of your board at all, and that's what stalls it out. It's not in a position to really get the lift from the wake that it needs. And granted, I understand that the cameras are at different angles, so this makes it look a bit more exaggerated than it is. But that's the idea. And you'll notice that when Kyle returns back, the way he loads it up so hard and short, watch what the rope does. So he has kind of a short approach with a short, hard load through the wake, and the rope is really tight at takeoff, and then see how it gets really loose here for a minute, and then it tightens up again right here. And this tightening up again is going to help stand you back upright so that you can just comfortably land on a nice, gentle heel side edge. And if we watch the rope on this one, you'll see how different it is. So right here is where it's really, really hard. And then it starts to let up a little right at the wake. You see that kind of wobble that just happened. And then it's tight again right here for a minute. And then just kind of stays somewhat neutral. It never gives you a good hard return, good hard tug back to an upright position. So that's really it. It's a little too early in your approach. And then your position when you start to flip is actually a little early as well through the bottom of the wake. You could stay upright for a little longer. So let's pause this right about. So alright, so we're paused at the right spot, and your back foot is still in the wake. So let's compare that to Kyle's, where his back foot is still in the wake, and we'll pause it at the right spot, and we'll compare and see what looks different. Alright, so you'll notice Kyle is at this angle here, and then you're also at this angle here, but look how kinked you are. See how the board seems like it's kind of behind in your upper body. If I were to only look at your spine from your hips to your head, that's almost completely horizontal if you look at it. And then if you look at Kyle, you'll see it's more like a 45-degree angle. And although your lower body is pretty similar in angle, your upper body is really kinked. So you're getting into this flip pretty aggressively, pretty fast. Where if you were to stay a little more upright and be a little more patient and hold that harder edge through the wake, it'll give you a lot more lift. And again, a lot of that can be fixed with your approaching edge by shortening that up a little, and all of this will just sort of happen correctly. I think you won't need to worry too much about your position of the wake because it will force you to be in that good position earlier. But that's about it. I mean, it's a pretty common issue that we see, and that stalling out kind of at the end is just because that approach and takeoff could improve and in a nice delayed fashion. So if you have any other questions, hit us up here down in the comments, or you can work on it, improve it, upload another video if you're still having trouble, and we'll get it solved from there. Thanks again.